My name is Jason Baskin, and while I'm wearing what could be construed as a doctor's lab coat, I'm not actually a doctor, nor do I have any medical training. This is just a fun little persona for a speed bag video. However, I would like to share a public service announcement. As you get older, it gets more important to see how that bag's doing, so at least a couple times a year, I'd like to dedicate some time to this important subject. In this episode, I'll share the speed bag techniques I'm currently working on and exercises that chain those techniques together, as well as my fitness philosophy, 2021 fitness goals, and some general commentary that might help you check that bag. So let's get started with the general diagnostic test and see how everything's doing. Here are the basic techniques that I feel especially proficient with. Whoa. Okay, this notation's getting a bit out of hand. We need to find a clearer way to show what's going on. Let's try this. Now that's better. I like this notation because it distinguishes more clearly between the hand striking the bag using grace notes or flames above and below the line for the right and left hands, and the bag rebounding against the platform it's suspended from, with the primary notes on the line. I feel like this clarifies the rhythm where the pulse is and the fact that the bag rebounding against the platform is louder than your hand striking the bag. Rolls feel like the most percussionisty technique I've learned so far. You can easily adapt the concepts behind rudimental snare drum rolls to the speed bag, such as single strokes, double strokes, triple strokes, and multiple bounce rolls. Now, these multi-bounce rolls may look difficult, but if you check the speed of your strikes against a metronome, you might be surprised by how easily you can handle the technique. Here's the metronome playing at 132. Here's eighth notes. In applying the ergonomic concepts I talked about last episode, I would caution you to watch out for repetitive stress injuries with multiple bounce rolls. There can be a tendency to tense the upper arm, which can lead to fatigue and injury. I've also noticed in myself that I lose the circular motion I get from single stroke rolls and instead fall into a straight line motion that can wear out the elbow. I'm working on turning it into more of a rotation. I'm trying to imagine it like a single stroke roll, but I'm taking out one hand and then just doing it twice as fast. Also be careful not to tilt your head back to look up at the swivel, which can cause neck pains. Instead, try to keep your head level and look at the belly of the bag. Moving on. Now let's look at the ways we can connect these basic techniques, chaining them together to create exercises and more complex rhythms. I tend to think of a basic rhythm as having 3 rebounds between hand strikes, in contrast to rolls which have only 1 rebound between hand strikes. My original conception was just front circle punches with 3 rebounds. Whatever combination of lefts and rights didn't matter, just that there were 3 rebounds. When I finally started working through Alan Kahn's book, The Speed Bag Bible, I was introduced to front straight punches and his conception of a basic rhythm, which is a front straight punch and a front circle punch with one hand, followed by a front straight punch and a front circle punch with the other hand, like right, right, left, left, or left, left, right, right. With Alan Kahn's basic rhythm, remember to sway from side to side to accommodate the angle of the front straight punch. It can also be offset and started with the front circle punch, like right, left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right. It should be a very fluid, continuous motion, and it's a very useful technique for linking other techniques together. Sweet. All right, moving on to other exercises. Nope, can't do it. That concludes the diagnostic. Now that I've baseline for where I'm at, I want to talk a bit about my starting point. I got a speed bag a few years ago, but didn't have it set up in a way that I'd use it. It was actually hanging directly from the I-beam that I've since attached my speed bag platform to. I originally thought it'd force me to be more precise, but instead I was too inconsistent to really keep at it. Then last year, I had an opportunity to really get into it. I had scheduled a week off from work during September to do a kind of miniature version of a ritual music retreat called the checkup that I'd learned about through Zakir Hussain in Mickey Hart's book, Drumming at the Edge of Magic. It was a nice moment of synchronicity that a friend of mine shared a video of Alan Khan's speedbagging a few days before I was going to start my mini chilla. It was the perfect blend of percussion and fitness, and it was inspiring enough that I made the speedbag platform I'm currently using so that I could use it during that week. I got lucky with the I-beam because it's right around the perfect height for me, and it lets me move around it in a full 360 degrees. Getting into speedbag coincided with a pretty big push to prioritize my health and fitness. I had a lot of sedentary habits, and I imagined my life playing out in two trajectories, one where I focused on fitness and one where I didn't. And that's motivated me to be more proactive about it. In looking outside myself for inspiration, I finally picked up Alan Khan's book, The Speedbag Bible, and have shown you where I'm at with that, right around page 26. I've got an accountability buddy for strength training at the gym, which I do need to go to the gym. I also got inspired to do this daredevil training thing from the show on Netflix. I feel like it'd be worth extending some insights into that. For roll exercises and like roll exercises, it's easier than you might think. It's definitely a study in idiokinetics and spatial relationships. The big insight I got from taking sight out of the equation for speed bagging is that unless I hit the bag really wonky, it should swing through the midpoint directly under the swivel. It reinforced a thought of mine that speed bag is kind of a controlled physics experiment. I'm still working on applying daredevil training to other techniques, but that's one of my goals for this year. Speaking of which, I've talked about where I started, and the diagnostic part of this episode is where I'm currently at. So now, let's talk about the future. It took a lot of takes to get to this highlight reel. So one of my 2021 speed bag goals is to work on more efficient practice habits. I should probably slow down my striking speed and work on consistency. Maybe practice with a metronome, which is honestly something I don't do for speed bag, but which would probably be helpful. I want to continue working through the Alan Khan book. I want to expand my repertoire of techniques, especially with elbow strikes and reverse punches. There are side punches as well, but I think that'll come later. I'd like to continue the daredevil training and expand it to other techniques. It'd be really cool to apply it to the lotus walks, where I'm walking around the bag. Speaking of which, I'd like to work up to 20 lotus walks and 1s to 20s. At this point, I'm not sure if building up to those repetition numbers for large-scale roll exercises will be valuable or not, but I kind of want to find out. My prediction is it'll build endurance, make numbers smaller than 20 much easier, and encourage me to refine my multi-stroke roll technique to be more circular instead of the straight line movements I had talked about. I also think it'll change the pulse patterns I use to work up to those larger numbers. I tend to do groupings of 2 and then add 1 at the end for the odd numbers. So for example, in my 1s to 10s, I usually think of my 9s as 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 instead of 3 plus 3 plus 3. I want to have the rhythmic flexibility on speed bag that I have on conventional musical instruments. I'd also like to improve my ability to improvise on speed bag. Currently, I focus on formulating exercises and patterns, then repeating them. I want to increase my fluency in this language, and I think improvisation is a way to integrate and apply those skills. Speed bagging is one big chunk of several fitness goals and a larger fitness philosophy that came together last year. I've started to see fitness as a skill set, kind of an intersection between strength training and techniques that allows you to build up to other techniques. You could kind of think of it as a series of thresholds, like in the way ice turns to water after 32 degrees and steam after 212 degrees. I think muscle strength is a range like temperature, and combining that with form and technique gives you specific skills like a push-up or a pull-up. I think this approach creates smaller, measurable, and more achievable goals. For example, one of my other 2021 goals and a bucket list thing from when I was a teenager is to finally learn how to do a backflip. To do that, it helped to learn a back handspring, and before that, a hand plant back spring from capoeira called a macaco. There's a martial artist, stuntman, actor, director in California named Larry Leong, who was a big inspiration and source of information to me for capoeira in high school. His movies are awesome, with lots of humor and inventive fight choreography, and he's put them on his own YouTube channel. I've modeled a lot of the fitness and motivation aspects of my channel after his, so I think he's worth checking out. One of the big things he recommends is to videotape yourself so that you can accurately connect the way a movement looks with the way it feels. I'm currently working on a macaco, so in that spirit, here's my current progress. Moving on to other fitness goals and part of the self-motivation part of this channel, by the end of 2021, I want to be able to do. I'd also like to lose some weight. How much weight? I guess enough to feel more satisfied with how I look, but not so much that I can't play orchestral tambourine with two hands. Well, that's it for this checkup. I'll see you next episode, but in the meantime, you grab your goals by the haunches and get to town. And remember to check that bag. Subscribe. 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 Sometimes when performing these non-medical procedures, you just need to throw out the textbook and improvise to see what's stuck. Alright, I think I'm committing malpractice. Okay, current progress for improvisation, let's try to get a good take.